Hello, my name is Justin, and today I want to talk about School Spirits, Season 3, Episode 5. This one is called Raiders of the Lost Scar. And I think I kind of want to do this a little differently so it's not getting kind of confusing with going back and forth between plot lines. So I'm going to try my best to keep it as concise as possible. So let's start at the beginning, actually, with our ghost. So it starts in the library with Simon telling all the ghosts about the vision. I call him the man with no pupils, but they call him Wide Eyes. So he tells them the vision that Wide Eyes showed him before Wally got him out of there. And the vision was of the night those kids died in the church. And the ghosts are also talking about what was going on upstairs because in the vision, Simon also saw a guy locking a door and then trembling down the stairs holding a rosary. So they question why White Eyes showed Simon that specific vision or memory, as Rhonda questions if White Eyes is Alfred Van Height, the one adult who died with those kids. Charlie thinks they should go down there again to try to learn more about who that guy is and what happened in the church. And Rhonda's like, "Are you volunteering?" And Charlie's like, "No, no, 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 absolutely not. I'm just saying if we want to figure this out, I think it's probably best if, you guys go down there and figure it out." Wally tells Simon to sit this one out, like to not go back down there with them this time, which is fine by him. Because he's pretty much in the same boat as Maddie now, where he keeps having like flashbacks of the vision White Eyes gave him. But I mean, it's not to the point where he's like losing track of time, so he has that over her. Quinn tries to talk to Rhonda about almost kissing her in the last episode, and Rhonda is kind of pushing them away. I think I mean obviously okay, sorry. I think Rhonda is scared to get close to people. I mean, she even said so at the end of this episode. But I think even talking about the idea makes her uncomfortable because she's very much trying to push Quinn away. Uh, but while Quinn is like trying to talk to her about it, she's like looking up like Finnish words in dictionaries and stuff, which kind of falls flat because she decides that she's not going to figure it out. Rhonda doesn't believe Quinn actually wanted to kiss her. I think, or I know that Rhonda thinks that they were just wanting to do it because they were high, which I'm not, I don't really think that's how that works. I think um, you kind of already have a feeling and that's just amplified by with whatever you took. Simon is pretty much buddied with Charlie for majority of this episode. And right now they are looking for a movie on Simon's thumb drive that I didn't really put the pieces together until now. I liked I liked the design of it, but I didn't even like clock it until right now that it literally is a thumb drive. So like, where can I get one? You know what I mean? But they're looking for a specific movie about an evil scientist who puts his thoughts in his shrink's brain. Because Simon thinks that's happening to him. Across the room, though, Martin is worried how Wally, who has a box of, could be weapons, they're not actually weapons, but could be used as weapons, a cheese grater, for example. And Martin is approaching the situation through a lens of research, and he's worried that Wally has those weapons because, he thinks Wally is trying to view the situation as a battle. And Wally is like, we have no idea what is like past what we've already seen in the church. Like, I don't know. I don't think that like it's smart to go down there with nothing. And also, personally, Martin, I have a gripe with you, okay? Because isn't this whole situation your fault, right? Like, isn't I mean, Wally gets his door, has since the last episode of last season, but Martin trying to still guide the other ghost is kind of weird because it's like, first of all, you fucked up big time. Second of all, you told Wally that he was pretty much in charge. And third of all, it's your fault that like they're stuck to begin with. All the ghosts besides Simon and Charlie go down to the hellhole. But Simon does find the movie, and it is called The Cinder. I need to watch that. I've never heard of that. While watching the movie, Simon kind of has like a breakdown, and he tells Charlie that he thinks a memory in the vision that White Eye showed him was a memory of his own life because of the rosary, um, which I'm not very clear on. I think that was just because, I mean, we find out in the next episode that it's because he was a pastor. So I don't know if that was necessarily Simon's memory or if it was just coincidence. He is very frazzled about it, so he like runs out of the room to like clear his head. But in the hellhole, Wally tells everyone to stay away from the water. Besides, I guess, Rhonda, who okay, it would be one thing if it was only this time, but it happens again, okay? So she crouches by near the water, and Wally and Yuri find a piece of paper with finished writing. Martin notices the stick drawings on the wall that are clearly made out of blood. Not good. And Quinn messes with the piano a bit before it starts to play on its own, and the church becomes really windy as the still water that the hands come out of start to rumble. Quinn tries to get the piano to stop, but they see a ghost. Rhonda grabs Quinn to get out of the church, and Wally is telling Martin, like, look, we gotta go. And Martin's like, no, 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 no. I want to know what's going on down here. So I think actually I'm gonna stay. Even if I don't have a way out, I think I'm cool just staying here. Which works out for him, I guess, but it definitely could have gone the other way. Not smart of him. So Charlie catches up with Simon, who tells him about Simon tells Charlie about his sister. And, you know, earlier in the season, or even like now, it's still kind of like a main subject. His sister, I can't really remember her name right now, but because his parents think that he is staying with her while he's like missing. Um, and he tells Maddie that he stopped replying to his sister because he figured he already had a family in Maddie. But he's telling Charlie now that he never responded to her to begin with because he was worried that she resented him for their parents dying. And Charlie's like, I don't I don't think she would reach out to you if she resented you. Plus, like, I had a brother, and like, I wouldn't think about that if I had the opportunity to talk to him again. Simon runs off to talk to Maddie, which we'll get to what Maddie's doing later. But we go back to the library where the other ghosts meet up to decode the note that Yuri and Martin. Sorry, I literally just said it. Yuri and someone else found a finished note, and they go back to the library to decode it. Quinn tells Rhonda about the child ghost, and Rhonda's like, I mean, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like, they they don't want you to tell them where that man is, or they don't want you to tell the man where they are. That's what I mean. White eyes. But Quinn thanks Rhonda for getting them out of the church. And Rhonda was like, it was on instinct. Like, I would have done it for like anyone. And Quinn's like, you know, me trying to kiss you was also on instinct. And I think Rhonda really is like, oh, so you weren't just high, which is like, come on, Rhonda. Like I said earlier, I don't really think that's how that works. However, they are rudely interrupted by Charlie, who storms into the library and says he lost Simon and can't find him. And he's also worried because he feels like he's not telling everyone everything. And I think what he means by that is Simon thinking that White Eyes had his own memory, which, again, I don't think was the case. I think that was just a mislead. So Rhonda tells Quinn to stay with Yuri to continue to decode the note. Back in the hellhole, though, Martin sees a woman about to jump in a well. I'm not totally sure what was happening in this scene. This is kind of just what I think happened. And he tries to stop her before she starts to like castrate him for killing those kids in the church. So immediately I'm like, oh, so this is either like the memory of the man with white eyes, or it's the stone tape theory, where it's like this is a recording of an actual event that is being played again through the church building that isn't there anymore. It a little complicated, but to be fair, we still have like 2 episodes to go. So 3, actually, this is 5. Um, so I'm not really sure. But I think that's what it was, because there is also another man who appears and congratulates Martin for making the deal. So automatically, I'm like, oh, this is either a memory or it is that stone tape theory. So while Charlie, Rhonda, and Wally are looking for Simon, they actually run into Maddie, who I will get to later, but there is a whole harvest festival going on at the school. Um, and Maddie is explaining to Nicole about the Forgotten, which, see, this is why it's a little complicated trying to do it in storylines, because it's like, it's okay. I'm guessing that if you're listening to this, then you have seen this show. So, and I would actually recommend that. Like, please, like, if anyone's listening, please don't listen to this without watching the show. Like, I'm just wanting to talk about the show with people who've seen it. So, I'll just explain it. Maddie is explaining to Nicole that she is very anxious and rattled because of what she learned from her dad and from Xander about the whole forgotten stuff. And I'll get back to that later. But for right now, the trio ghosts think that, or it's true, they hear that when the building is gone, they're pretty much stuck there forever and they can't get their doors. So, as the trio ghosts are learning about how they're going to be doomed for longer than they thought they were going to, and in a worse place, Simon goes into the library and steals the watch that was conveniently left on a table. So, he's going back down there. Um, Come on, like, why wasn't Yuri like having the watch on his wrist? I get it, the story has the story, but what sense does that make? On top of the fact that they already left it in the hellhole, like at the beginning of the season, Simon and Wally did. So it's like, wouldn't you guys want to be like very sure where that watch is? So Simon does go down to the hellhole, and Martin is like, "Dog, what are you doing here?" And Simon asks that, and Martin's like, "No, like, what are you doing here?" Martin shows Simon the Stickman drawings, and Simon realizes they're made out of blood, um, and that he saw them when White Eyes was showing him the vision. Martin also shows him the words written on the wall, um, and it reads in Finnish, "Do you know who I am?" So Martin thinks that whoever White Eyes is connected to all of them, and Simon is like, "No, no, not me, because I'm like alive." So I don't know, like, I, I didn't, I'm not a part of it. So the trio head back to the library, and they're very upset after what they heard from Maddie. And Quinn and Yuri are like, guys, like, why are you so sad? Like, we found a contract, right? And someone wanted to buy the land under the church, but it was never signed. Um, so everyone obviously is like upset and scared because the trio tells Yuri and Quinn about what they heard from Maddie. But Wally says that Simon needs to be priority right now and they'll figure out their stuff later, which is like, okay. But like you're the one with a door, so I think it's easy for you to say. But this is the time they realize the watch is gone, and it's like, who would have thought? But Yuri's like, no, it's fine. We can go through my scar since it's right next to Martin's. And Charlie is very upset about it because one, he was supposed to stay with Simon, so he feels like a failure. And two, he doesn't want Yuri to have to show the rest of the ghosts his scar. Like that is very personal. And Yuri's like, no, it's okay. Like I promise it's okay. Just keep looking for Simon out in the festival. So while they're heading down there through Yuri's scar to get to Martin's, Simon finds a paper and a ring and a collection plate. The ring is a gold ring with a ruby gem that will become more. Oh, I can't think of the word. It'll be more important next episode. Martin thinks that the ring was a bribe to get the land, which I'm sure is correct. Then White Eyes appears. Simon confronts him. Like he's like if you think Jennifer Tilly was dragging the principal, Simon is dragging White Eyes. But Simon is quickly handled when White Eyes grabs his face and, you know, goes into the vision. So as that's happening, the other ghosts finally arrive, and Quinn takes a wood plank and tries to hit White Eyes, but he disappears, and she ends up knocking out Simon. Not too long later, Quinn and Rhonda are kind of having a moment in the cafeteria after they get Simon settled to rest. And Quinn's like, I feel like what I did was the exact opposite of what I or we were trying to do, and that was protect Simon, and I like totally went against that. And Rhonda's like, no, like I think it's okay, you know, like it's gonna be okay, you know. And then they talk about the kiss, and Rhonda's telling them that she hasn't let anyone get close to her and since she's been dead, and she hasn't kissed someone in 62 years. And Quinn is like, I totally understand. Like, it doesn't have to be right now. And Rhonda's like, are you fucking kidding? And they kiss, and it's really beautiful for Quinn and especially for Rhonda, knowing how she died and how she's kind of been living in the afterlife. Like, I think out of everyone, I mean, Charlie as well, he definitely deserves Yuri, but I think Rhonda definitely deserves this. But that is actually the end of our ghost storyline. So we will start with our alive characters and their storyline. So we meet up with Xavier, who is outside of the festival, and he calls Tracy, that girl the ghost Kyle at the hospital was looking for, and she is really disturbed by just the mention of Kyle's name and says that she can't talk about it right now and hangs up on Xavier. Maddie comes up at this moment and, you know, recommends maybe trying a different approach rather than asking about some boy that died like 20 years ago. And they talk about Simon and what time the festival starts. And Xavier, sorry, uh, you know, is asking Maddie if she's okay because when she was staying at his house, she was like really entranced by his aquarium. Just one problem though, he doesn't have an aquarium. So, you know, another example of Maddie going into her visions, hallucinations. I'm not really quite sure what's happening to her. Actually, I do have a theory, but I think I'll probably talk about that later. So Maddie's like, no, I just haven't been sleeping well. And they decide to go to the hospital to ask Kyle for like more information to be able to talk to Tracy. So it's not like I said, just trying to talk about some boy that died in a bus crash 20 years ago. My favorite character, Claire, has been staying at Nicole's place. but she's currently packing to go home to talk to her stepdad to see if he knows anything more about the school being shut down and destroyed. We then go to the hospital. Xavier runs in to talk to Kyle, and Maddie uses Simon's tablet to look up Alice in Wonderland syndrome, which, according to Google, Alice in Wonderland syndrome is a neurological disorder where you temporarily perceive things like size, distance, and time to distort, often causing objects or body parts to seem much smaller or larger. So Maddie might have this. I'm not a doctor. I didn't go to college for anything, let alone a degree in knowing what's wrong with Maddie Nears. So I think, okay, so my theory with Maddie is that she was body snatched, right? So someone else was in her body. She was dead. She has that head trauma, if I believe right. Like she has trauma to the head and she's not sleeping. So I'm wondering if because she was a ghost at some point, she already has a connection to the paranormal world, but because of all these other things, the head trauma, not sleeping well, I think that is why she's more capable of going into the paranormal world in those moments. So, sorry. I think when Maddie's having those visions or whatever's happening, I think her spirit is on a different plane. Like she's not here. Maddie's psych comes up to the passenger door and asks Maddie if she's okay with everything. Like, especially noticing what she's looking up. Her psych, kind of makes her feel better and also tells her to maybe use a rubber band, put it on your wrist, and whenever you're having those visions, snap it against your wrist, and it should help you have a clear mind to realize what is real and what's not. So after the psych, Simon's mom starts to call his tablet, and Maddie's like, God, fuck, God, which is really like, that's a nerve wracking situation. But I'm also like, where are Simon's parents? Like, I get like trusting him and all, but like, you haven't heard from him. So, like, why aren't you at Maddie's place? Why aren't you, you know, calling Simon? I don't, or I mean, they are calling Simon, but I mean, like, going to the school and like seeing if he's been coming to school and stuff like that. I'm sure it's been like talked about earlier this season and I just can't remember, but I just, I would feel like if I were Simon's parent and I wasn't hearing anything from him besides a chopped up voice recording from his podcast, I would probably clock that something wasn't right. But we love supportive parents who give their children space, I guess. We then go inside the hospital, and Kyle is telling Xavier that he is confused why Tracy didn't want to talk about him as they had a pretty good friendship. And Xavier is like, look, I need more than just the fact that you died in a bus crash 20 years ago. And Kyle's like, okay, well, I did invite her to prom that exact same day. And she told me that she would tell me the next day, but, well, Kyle never got a next day. So great. Uh, Xavier has that information, so he's going to talk to Tracy about it later to see what more she knows. And Maddie's dad catches Xavier on the way out because hopefully you remember he's also a ghost at the hospital. And he tells Xavier what he learned from that nurse, which, by the way, I also really like the nurse. I think she's so cool and creepy, and she's just like a chain smoker. I don't know. Like, I wish she was like my aunt or something. But we actually go back to the car with Maddie, who is starting to hallucinate again. The radio is Simon when he was talking to the ghost at the beginning of this episode. But then it starts to distort, telling Maddie that she can't save him. And then there is a huge bang on the hood of the car, and she looks up, and it is Simon dead. Luckily, it's quickly, I wouldn't say retcon because it's part of the show, but we quickly see that she's not even in the car because Xavier comes up to her and they're both on like the entrance of the hospital, Maddie staring off into space. So, not probably the best time, but he does tell her what her father said, and that was that there used to be a building built on the grounds before the hospital, and that building had ghosts. But because that building is gone, those ghosts can't cross over, so they're stuck and they're forgotten. Maddie doesn't want to tell her ghost friends, but they decide to go to the festival to see if they can learn anything more about the church. And she does slip on a rubber band and tells Xavier to not turn on the radio. My poor girl, Maddie, she is going through it. I can't remember if I was like giving her shit earlier this season, but I get it. Maddie's going through it, guys. Guys, anyone? Do you know what I mean? So they get to the school. Um, my notes are kind of messy. I can't remember exactly how Maddie uh, started hanging out with Claire and Nicole. I'm pretty sure like they all like Xavier and Maddie arrived at the school and Xavier just went off to try to talk to Tracy, but her whole like musical thing, like it like cuts back to Xavier throughout other scenes and he's just still like sitting there like and he gets up when he thinks it's over and it just keeps going. Stupid. I would hate that. But so now we're with Maddie, Nicole, and Claire, and they are at a marionette play that's being narrated by Miss Jennifer Tilly. The marionette play is the history of Split River and of Alfred Van Height. An older lady walks out calling Jennifer a word that we don't know because it's not in English. Simon's mom starts to call Nicole, and Maddie tells Claire now is the time to go talk to her stepdad. After the marionette play, Simon is looking for Maddie after having that whole breakdown with Charlie, telling him about his sister. But obviously, because where Maddie is, no one died in that specific spot, so she can't see him. So he runs off again, and that's when he goes to get the watch and go into the hellhole. Olivia sees Nicole and Maddie, and she's just like, Nicole, like, what are you doing hanging out with Maddie? Like, I thought you guys like weren't friends. And Maddie doesn't really give a shit about Olivia. She changes the subject to ask if there's more pamphlets and articles about the town history. But Olivia doesn't even get a word in before Jennifer Tilly quickly like shoots her off to get something from the car. Jennifer Tilly is like standing by a model of what the new school will look like, and Maddie is looking at the school, but she starts to question Van Height as well. Maddie is begging Jennifer Tilly to not shut down the school, and Jennifer is like, it's not just me, it's everyone. And Jennifer Tilly is like, I don't know, like, I would have thought you would want the school shut down, especially because there's still a lot of questions about where you've been. Simon's mom keeps calling Nicole, and Nicole and Maddie, after the whole Jennifer Tilly thing, kind of start playing hot potato with the phone before I think Claire answers it and gives it to Maddie. So Maddie is dealing with talking to Simon's mom as Claire comes up and is like, I didn't get any information. My dad pretty much just told me I'm a fucking failure. And I'm like, ugh, horrible. Horrible. Again, Claire's another character I was giving shit. Um, unless you say that I said that I thought she didn't really have like a point of being in the show, then I would say you're lying because I absolutely never said that and you definitely cannot prove it. So, um, they so after talking about what happened with Claire's stepdad, um, they talk about what Jennifer Tilly did not did. Nicole is telling Claire how Jennifer Tilly pretty much dragged Maddie, and Claire is like, why does everyone love her? And Nicole is like, not everyone loves her. As that older lady who walked out of the marionette play walks by them, and Nicole tells her the word, tells Claire the word that that lady said, and Claire, who knows Finnish, clocks that one, it's in Finnish, and two, it means devil. Um, so they grab Maddie after the call and they go to the tarot reader because that lady is the tarot reader for the Harvest Festival. So they get to the tarot reader and Claire quickly asks why the lady called Jennifer the devil. Charlie walks in. This is around the same time that Yuri told him to just keep looking for Simon. And the reader said she wasn't calling Jennifer the devil. And I think she said that she was calling Alfred Van Hype the devil because she goes on to say that he wasn't a good man. He was twisted and greedy and thought if their children died, the native people of Split River, I guess, would leave. But they didn't. And now people like the tarot reader won't let people try to erase that history. Charlie tells Maddie that Simon is currently down there right now because they're still in the thought process that White Eyes is Van Hype. So Maddie's like, go get his ass, right? And so Charlie runs off and does that. Then by the time the whole tarot reader thing is done, Xavier comes up to them and he's saying that, you know, he's trying to talk to Tracy, but her thing just keeps going on and on and on. And just like the ghost, Maddie just now realizes that she lost her bag. She lost her bag when Claire and Nicole like grabbed her to go to the tarot reader. And we did see Livia like look at the bag, so she did take Maddie's bag and take what was inside, which I'll get to in the next episode. So Maddie's looking for her bag, but she ends up in hallucination. She's actually able to get out of it though because of the rubber band, and she wasn't even where she thought she was. She thought she was back in the tarot reader's tent looking for her bag, but actually she was standing out in like the crowd with the rest of the people. It was really good imagery of having her stand there, glazed eyes with like people pacing past her. I thought that was really cool. So Xavier actually finds Maddie's bag. Because they all went to go look for it and Xavier finds it. So Maddie runs into the school because she wants to talk to Simon. She runs across Quinn, who is in the cafeteria and is reeling with the fact that they knocked Simon out with that board. So Rhonda comes in and Maddie's like, Rhonda, I'm like, there's a lot going on and like, I'm gonna fix it, I promise. Not knowing that the trio of ghosts, or all the ghosts actually already know about the Forgotten and that would happen to them if the school is shut down and destroyed. Maddie goes back to check in on Simon, and that's where we end with that group of characters. Besides Xavier, but I'll get back to that in a second. So we also have Kyle and Maddie's dad who are going on a mission. Xavier, who's able to finally talk to Tracy. And Tracy said after the crash, Kyle got weird and ruined her life, or walks the opposite direction when she sees him walking down the street. So me and Xavier are like, so Kyle is still alive, but how's that possible? Because his ghost is in the hospital. So we have another case of a body snatcher. And I really enjoyed the next episode. And I also enjoyed this episode. I hope I gave enough information about the episode, just about the main plot points and my own thoughts, because that's really what I try to do, is kind of just try to talk about the show and in general, like what's going on in it and kind of what I think about it while talking about it. So I hope that came through. But that actually is the end of episode 5. I'm really excited to talk about episode 6, and I hope whoever is listening has a great night.